All right, so it's time. If you so thank you guys. I really appreciate you coming to our second class of the 90-second pitch cohort. We have got a phenomenal teacher today. Her name is Laura Click. She has got a branding and strategy company, and it's Blue Sky. No, Blue Kite.
There you go.
Yeah, Blue Sky. I knew that was wrong from the very beginning.
That's
Yes,
okay.
Blue Kite Marketing. Okay. And she's got quite a bit of experience with pitches, because obviously she has to do them on a daily basis to pitch her company. So she's offered to teach us some more about, like, what we're going to do today is go through more of the parts of the speech of the 90-second, but really focus on some of the ones that are more difficult, that people find to be difficult. So without further ado, Laura, the floor is yours.
Thanks. I appreciate that, Lisa. Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to be with you today. I don't see any faces. I don't know what the protocol is. Lisa, if people like to go on camera or not, you don't have to, but we're hoping to make this really interactive today. So if you're willing to go on camera, I would love to see some smiling faces back. And also, this is only as good as you all want to make it. So your participation, this is like almost free consulting for you. So I've got some things to teach here, but want to make this an opportunity for you if you have been working on your pitch. So those who came to the previous webinar about this, maybe you've got a draft of your pitch. Like, this is a time for us to workshop that. So oh, okay. It says stopped. We have a chat saying that the host has stopped video sharing. So it sounds like folks cannot get on video, Lisa. I don't know if that's by design.
Well, let me, as we're going through this, let me see if I can fix that.
Okay. So since no one else can get on video, what I will do is this. I'm going to jump on. Let's do this. Go ahead and put this in the chat. If you had, I think was it last week, Lisa, that the previous training was on building your pitch. If you have been to the previous session on creating your pitch, either raise your hand, you can use the raise hand function, or put it in the chat and let me know if you were there. Yes. Okay. I've got 2 yeses. Only 2 folks. Anyone else? Okay. I see. Yes. Okay, great. We've got several folks that were there. Okay, wonderful. So some yeses. This is great. And so some of you are just coming for the first time. So what we'll do a little bit is I won't, since some of you have already heard this, but for some of you, you're hearing this for the first time. So what I can do is we'll go through quickly over what the 90-second pitch structure is. And then if anyone has a draft of their pitch, we can hear what you've got working for you. All right, so that sound good to everybody? Well, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I say, does that sound good? I'm so used to seeing faces when I'm on Zoom. So
yeah, I'm just so sorry. I'm working on this. I'm not sure. I don't know what I have done. So
okay.
I'm working on it.
Great. All right, I'm going to share my screen and I'll just walk you all through the pitch structure. And hold on, let me share my screen. Okay, I'm going to talk, and since I can't see your faces, if you have a question as I'm talking, go ahead and use the raise hand function. Since I don't have the chat open right now, I want to be able to make sure I can focus on what's on the screen. If you have a question, use the raise hand functionality, and I will call on you, and then you can add it in the chat. Okay, so I will not belabor what we do, but I will quickly mention that my company is Blue Kite. We do brand strategy and development. So Lisa is right. We do this work all day long in helping organizations tell their story. So let's talk about how you can tell yours. So a pitch is a really interesting format because you are trying to concisely share what it is that you do in a short amount of time. Sometimes you've maybe heard about an elevator pitch. This is that, like that idea, but a little bit longer. Oftentimes when you talk about an elevator pitch, it's 30 seconds. So this is kind of an elongated elevator pitch. And these are the different components of that pitch. And this is what was taught in a previous session. So the very first piece of that is the introduction. So you've got about 10 seconds to captivate attention and get people interested in what you have to say. I would argue it's maybe one of the more important pieces of this pitch, because if you don't start strong, people aren't going to hear the rest of it. So it's much like an email subject line. If you think about an email subject, the whole goal of that is to get you to open the email, right? Does it pique your interest or curiosity? Do you want to hear more? That email subject line, the whole goal of it is to get you to open the email. And then the first line of your email is to get people to keep reading. So you have to think about it in that regard. So your introduction is really important to get people interested in what you have to say. After that, you want to state the problem. So what are you trying to solve with your business? What problem have you noticed in the world that you said, hey, I'm going to build a business to fix that? So you need to talk about what is the issue you see? Who are the people that experience this issue? Why is this a problem that we should care about? You've got about 25 seconds to talk about the problem. And then it's what is the solution? So your business should, in theory, be poised to address the problem that you just talked about. So what are you doing about it? How is your business solving this problem? You've got 20 seconds for that. And then we get into market evidence. So we all notice problems in the world, but you need to make sure that there is a viable market in which to sell this solution, whether that's a product or a service. So a market of one does not a market make. So who are the people that need this? Is it a problem? Is it a solution for moms, for example? And so how many moms are there in the world that could benefit from having this product or service? Or is it a certain kind of business? How many of those businesses exist? So we need to know that there is a pool of people, not only who would care about this solution you have to the problem, but also a really big important one is that they have the money to pay for it. Okay. So market evidence is a little bit about who are you trying to sell your product or service to? And then a closing is what is something that you can leave people with that gets them really excited? I would argue that probably the hardest parts of this are the intro and the close. If you're building a business, your whole business is about the middle three parts. It's the problem and the solution and who it's for. So in our world, we talk about it as like a core value proposition. What is the value you're trying to deliver to a specific market? Or in our case, we talk about it as a target audience. So for this pitch, this pitch setup, what I wanted to talk a little bit about today is this introduction piece. There are several different ways you can go about it. There's not a certain formula, but when I think about marketing, we talk about that introduction in a lot of ways as a hook. So I gave the example of an email subject line. It can also be the same as the first line of a social media post. That could be a hook. Or on a website, it can kind of be like a headline. What is the thing that's going to capture people's attention? So here are a few formulas that we could use to help you get people's attention. So as I said here, every pitch should start with a great hook. If I was really fancy, I would have these come in one at a time, but we're not being fancy today. So I'm just going to lay it out here for you. So here are 5 ideas for you in terms of thinking about that introduction. So a real common one is a statistic. So what is a statistic that really captures what your business is poised to solve? So we talk about that introduction and then going into the problem. A statistic is a great way to kind of tie into the problem. Okay, so and especially if the statistics are really big or really shocking, that's a great way to capture attention. Another option is a story. A lot of times founders have great stories about why they started the business. So maybe you were the person that experienced the problem and you said, hey, I found that this was an issue and I'm not the only one. And there are thousands or millions of people just like me that have this problem every day and I'm doing something about it. So a really compelling, interesting story about why you started. We don't need the whole history. We need a very short history. Can be really interesting and get people engaged. Questions are also really great hooks. You see this a lot with speakers. So questions are a great way to engage an audience. So when you're doing a pitch, it's much like getting on stage if you're a speaker. And it's a great way to get the audience thinking. So you could always say something like, give me a show of hands if you've ever had this issue, XYZ. Give me a show of hands if you ever, let's say you're selling seat covers for cars because we're about to be in summer and you've burned your legs on leather seats and you want to save the world from us all having third-degree burns on our legs in the hot, hot summer or something along those lines. So have you ever had the seat burn your legs in the summertime? Wouldn't you like a solution for that? So those kinds of questions can be a way to get the audience to pay attention and engaged. You can always even say, show of hands if you've ever had this issue. Painting a picture is a way you can imagine the future state. So what does it look like if what does the world look like 5 or 10 or 15 years from now if everyone bought your product or service? How can you make the world different with what you are offering? So let's say you are, I'm trying to think of an idea. We talk about this a lot with nonprofits, for example. So a nonprofit, let's say you're the Alzheimer's Association, you're going to say your success for you is a world without Alzheimer's. So you can say, imagine what it would be like if no one in the world ever again had struggled with remembering their loved ones, and you never had to explain who you are time and time again. Well, that's possible with these things. So painting a picture of the future state can be a really great way to activate people's imaginations and get them engaged with what you have to say. Last up is a hot take. So this is a new idea, or maybe it's a controversial opinion about current events or trends. So that can be a little tricky, and you want to maybe be careful about a hot take. But if your business is all built upon doing something that's really different than the industry standard, or you're really offering something new, you can say, hot take, this isn't the way to solve this problem anymore. Did you know that this causes X, Y, and Z? Now we've got this new solution. So a hot take could be something that you are bringing that's very new to the market. There's probably dozens of other ideas, but I wanted to give you 5 really solid options to think about. So as you're structuring your pitch, you can figure out which of these formula choices make a lot of sense to you. So you're not trying to pull something out of thin air. Laurie is saying, yes, you've had the seat burn my legs. I don't know. I guess I'm anticipating summer. It's not hot today, but we're going to be there before we know it. Okay, if there are no other questions, I'm going to give you one more. I'm going to take all of these 5 examples, and I am going to give you an example of a company that we worked with and show you how these different options can work as a hook. And then after that, I want to make sure we open it up to questions, and maybe we can hear some folks if they have written their pitch. I'd love to hear it. We can kind of workshop through those. Okay, so here we worked with a maternal mental health counseling center. So they offer therapy for women in prenatal period and postpartum. Okay, so let's say we were doing a pitch for this company. Here are the 5 different ways we could start with a really interesting hook or a really interesting introduction. So to start, we could do a statistic. So here is one for this company. It could be nearly 15% of women suffer from postpartum depression after having a baby. That's nearly 600,000 women every year. Like, wow, that's a big number. Or if you really wanted to make it punchier, it could be, do you know that more than 500,000 women every year suffer from postpartum depression? That may even be stronger, right? So leading with a really big number, something that might surprise or shock people, could be a great way to start. Another way is to go with a story. So this isn't my story, but let's say it was, if I were the founder, I could say, when struggling with postpartum blues, I didn't know where to turn to get to support. I didn't even know I had an issue. You could go a little bit farther. That's why there needs to be organizations that help people, diagnose and recognize the symptoms of postpartum depression. And we've got a great solution for that. So that's a way you could tell a story. Or if it's not your story, you could say, hey, I've served, let's say you're a therapist, you can say, I have served so many women who have struggled with postpartum depression and they didn't even know that they had a problem, or something along those lines. So starting with a story can be a really great way to capture attention. So you'll see how similar they all are, but they're just a different take. So a lot of this depends on your personal preference. But here's a question. This kind of ties into the statistics. So did you know that 1 in 7 women in the United States struggle with postpartum depression? So that's another way you can tackle a statistic, or you could even say, do you or someone ever struggle with postpartum depression after you had a baby? there's a lot of different ways you can frame it, but here's an example. The painting the picture option. Imagine a world where all moms could easily access and afford the counseling support they need. Like thinking about how the world would be a better place when that happens. Like that could be a really interesting way to start. And then you could say, it is possible with what we're building, right? And then hot take. So thinking about this from a kind of controversial way. So counseling for moms should be a right, not a luxury, right? So this is maybe something that people wouldn't really think about, but you're making a bold statement here. And that's another great way to capture attention. Okay. I am going to stop sharing and I want to see all of your lovely faces. Lisa, I don't know if we don't have video ability.
And I'm sorry, I've not been able to figure that out. And I think that it might have been in the way that the webinar was set up.
Oh, interesting. Well, this is
Yeah.
not, this makes this really tricky. Do we have audio capability? Are people
Yes.
able to unmute? Okay, so we'll
Yes,
just have
hold
to
them
go.
unmuted.
We'll have to go. Okay, great. Everyone has audio. So I would love to see, you can either, if you have, okay, we have a raised hand here. Let's see who's got raised hands. Do we have a whole bunch of people raised hand? Oh, Angie, oh, here we go. Angie Taggart, you have a raised hand. You feel free to go on mute if you want to share your question via audio, or if you have something to say, go for it, Angie.
Oh.
Well, she's not there. I see your hand raised, Angie, but you are muted. Can you unmute?
I've asked her to unmute, but
Okay. Oh, here it is, Angie.
Oh, I was just raising my hand when you had asked who was here last week, so I don't
Oh,
have anything ready.
okay. All right, great. Okay, cool. Well, lower your hands. Let's maybe for now, like we'll since we're kind of figuring this out without video and things, I'm gonna have everyone, I'm gonna lower all attendees' hands right now.
well, did Kelly Knowles, did you have something that you wanted to say?
Okay,
Ah,
I think I'm unmuted.
You
Yeah.
are, yes.
Ta-da! Okay, good. I
did
was
it.
sitting here going, I don't know how to unmute. So I saw the request. So I wanted to, and I want to stay on track. I did attend the session on the 7th. Where I'm actually questioning myself is I have a business that is consulting. It's not a tangible product. And so what I've been trying to figure out is how I would do a pitch that is going to be relevant, kind of how do you make the untangible tangible. And so I have a few pieces. I feel good about my introduction and a bit of the problem, but I was wondering if you would be open, if it's relevant, to speaking to a little bit about how you do pitches when you're not saying buy this physical thing.
Would you be open to sharing what you have? I think it would help to have a little bit more context about your business. If you are willing to share what you've got, we can talk a little bit more about it. Or are you like a still blank paper?
I have done quite a few scribbles. It's
okay.
If you giggle at me, I will fully understand.
Nope,
So
no giggling. No giggling.
The introduction is, my late father used to say to me, they named a street sign after you, Kelly, one way. It was not a compliment. This was a moment of great self-awareness to me. It helped me learn a little bit about what was driving me. Do you know what is driving you? I call that your inner leadership. And then my plan was to get into some statistics around, even folks on this call, think about how many programs you've bought. If you're a vision board person, how many vision boards have you done? How many amazing programs has your company or employer bought? And there was never any long-term real transformation. It might have been nice. It might have been a feel good, but money was spent, time was being taken, and yet things are not changing for the better. The problem is that people do not know what is driving them. And then what I'd like to do is bring in the solution of using Kelly K Consulting. And as an inner leadership coach, no matter what learning or programming you may buy or go through, you have to know what is driving you internally. So that's where I'm at.
I think you've got a wonderful draft. I
Me
love that.
too.
I mean, I'm really impressed. I loved how the story. So you did a great job with the story at the
Okay.
beginning. It was really short and punchy. So, I mean, you understood the assignment, Kelly. I think you did a great job with that. And what was really nice is that you had a really common thread throughout the whole thing. And so when you talk about what's driving you and you talk about one way at the beginning, but you talk about people have a problem and you know how to solve it. That's what I took away. Like, people don't know what's
Okay.
driving them, but your consulting services can make a difference with that. I think one thing that would be interesting is, what is it about your services that make them different or stand out? Why should someone trust that you have the solution? So this is where, and I'm in consulting services too, but like, we talk a lot about like, do you have a proven process that so you can say, we've worked with X number of companies, or, throughout my, decades of career, we've had this much success. Like, this is where and I know this isn't in the framework, but for you and what you shared, I would want to know, okay, well, what's different or special or unique about your consulting that makes it successful? So process, results, approach, those kind of things, I think would be really interesting to hear.
Okay, that's probably the place that's the hardest. So that's very helpful. And like I said, the challenge I've had is knowing I have something that I think will make a difference, and yet I don't want it to come out as just another personality profile. I mean, it starts with a personality profile, but there's a million of them out there. And so what I don't want to do is people go, yeah, I've already done, Hogan, Strengths Finders, DISC, blah, blah, blah. I want to be able to figure out how to make sure this is a differentiator. And it's not just the profile, it's kind of my approach with clients and individuals. So that's very helpful. Thanks for indulging me on this, because I've had some analysis paralysis there.
I get that. I might say that saying, you won't have time to like cover all of those things, but if there's a quick way to say what makes your approach different. The other thing that can be really helpful is, you said you've got some sort of personality profile, but it's not just another one. Granted, this is coming from a branding expert, but I would brand it. I brand it. And so you can say, with our whatever XYZ assessment or whatever, having a brand attached to that gives it a little bit more oomph or validity. And so people go, oh, it's your proven process, or our, trademarked assessment, or whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be trademarked. You can start down that road, but like, consider that. I don't know if you have a name for it, but having a brand can help the stickiness of it and make it feel a little bit more legitimate.
That's helpful. This particular profile is one where I'm certified in it. So it, air quote, belongs to someone else. It's just that I'm a certified trainer, and I've done this with hundreds of people. And so that's been a bit of my challenge. But as everybody on the call knows, you can take a profile. It doesn't mean you get any meaning from it.
Sure.
So, the debrief that I do is what I think is the differentiator. Thank you for letting me talk that out.
Yeah, sure. So I would lean into that then. So you can, I liked how you said, I've used this I'm certified in this, and you said, I've had success with more than 100 people. Here's why. And you can talk about what it is that you do that helps them be successful. I think that would be interesting.
Thanks so much.
Sure. Eve, I see you have either your hand raised, so if you want to unmute, I hope you have the ability to do that. I'll see it.
Hey, Laura, how are you?
Good. How are you, Eve?
Pretty good. Hey, Lisa. Yeah, so thanks for presenting. I think for me, what I'd like to know, and this is just kind of me being kind of, I don't know if it's like too direct, but as we start to pitch and kind of get together and present what we have for 90 seconds, do you have like an upper hand or advantage to kind of how do we do this pitch well? Like, I usually, my end game is like, if I can get first place, great. And so I just like to aim for that as just like an achiever kind of person. And so what is it that you, if you were a judge, what are you looking for that kind of differentiates us from everybody else?
Hmm. That's really interesting. I've actually never judged a pitch competition, but it'd be really fun to do that. So I don't know. I guess I should say, Lisa, I'll throw my hat in the ring for a judge role at some point. But I think it is kind of connecting the dots. So it's, yes, I want you to capture my attention. I mean, I'm a marketing and branding person, so I love a story that's well told, but it's what is it about your approach that makes you different or unique or special? What makes the thing that you've built or created your business? How is it different than the other options available out there? I think that's really the crux of it for me. So, to Kelly's point, it was, well, there's lots of people doing the same thing. And I think when you're in service-based businesses, it's really hard to differentiate. So it's what is your unique take? And sometimes it means, I don't want to say making something up, but having a quote unquote branded process or, defining, giving things names makes it feel like you're the only place where I can get this thing. Even though it might look very similar to what other people do. I think understanding your target market really well is powerful. So that's another piece of it. But I think for me, it's having a clear understanding of what makes your offering unique or special would be the thing that would kind of tip the scales for me. Does that help you?
I
You
think
can
so.
have long enough for they get here. Really good.
I think someone else is talking. I'm gonna mute. What's that?
So to be honest with you, I think what really gets the judges going is if you can, first of all, animation. You have to be really animated because it really shows your passion. You can't read anything. You just have to be there and get everybody engaged because they love seeing you and they know how much you care. And then it's actually getting them engaged with the hook, but then really being able to be succinct with what the problem is and what the solution is. I know that everyone's passionate about their business, which makes them want to talk more about their business. I'm the same way. But if you can narrow it down and you can really be focused, then you've got a really good chance of being in the top 10.
That's cool. Okay. Just like, oh, sorry, go
No,
ahead.
no, go ahead.
Forgot who was speaking with the previous woman who had the offering that wasn't necessarily a product. I would say I have a similar stance where my product or service is user experience services. So it's a digital service to improve your user friendliness on your product, your website, your platform. And so for me, it's I don't know how many other people might be offering these types of services, but I feel like sometimes I have a hard time making sure people understand what the service is because it's not necessarily for everyone. It usually is for someone who has like a platform or a digital product that they need to be more user friendly.
I think where my mind is going there and it is the painting the picture might be really, not knowing the full extent of what your business does, but if it's about a really wonderful user experience on a platform, I can't help but wonder about painting the picture about that. Like everyone has had an experience where you've gone to a website and everything just works and it's easy, but we also have all had the experience of going to a website or platform and everything feels so darn hard. And, we all want the former, not the latter, right? So I think even if I'm not someone who would be a user of your service, I can already imagine the benefit of having that. So that's where that painting the picture can maybe help you relate to people, even if that's not something they would be one to buy.
Okay, I love that. And I think that could be a hook where it's just like in one sentence, like painting the picture of, being on a website with a lot of friction.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I love what Lisa said. You know, it's funny because I almost said that, Lisa, about the energy being a big piece of it. You know, I think energy makes up for content in a lot of ways. Now, granted, you can't just be all energy. I've seen that too, where it's like people are all energy and then they have nothing to say. So you want to make sure that you've got some content to back it up. But I think being really excited and high energy is going to make up for, you know, if you fumble a little bit or you don't feel like you've got it just perfect. If I see your high energy, I'm going to be far more interested and engaged than someone who is not. So I just want to underscore what Lisa said. I couldn't agree more with that.
We do have a question. Lori is asking, how do you brand it for this process?
Yeah, there could be a number of different ways. I think it depends on the name of your business. And so thinking about your company name and the hierarchy around that. So it could be the XYZ something process. So you could just put your business name in there, or you could come up with something else entirely. We just launched something called a brand performance assessment. So that's like, you could be calling it just like everybody else. It's an audit, you know, but we tried to give it a little bit of heft. And so it's the Blue Kite brand performance assessment. So just having a name for something just makes the process feel like it's more thoughtful and not just like, well, this is the way we do it. No, this is our proven process. Does that help, Lori? And if you want to come off audio and talk further about that, I'm glad to hear if you want to share your business, or we can talk it through.
Okay.
Sure. So can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
So I am a home organizer and I have not established a proven process yet, but I keep wondering, what does that look like? And exactly to your point, where there are lots of people doing the same thing. And so I've been trying to take a look at what is my unique take on how do I organize? What's my proven process? And if I'm totally honest, I keep meeting these other organizers who are incredible people. If you hire them, it's gonna be great. They're amazing. Also, I'm amazing. So it's tricky to try to figure out, like, what's that line to walk where I'm humble enough to be like, it doesn't have to be all about me being special, but also what I do is unique in the sense of my compassion and cheerfulness and not free of judgment, like that kind of a thing. How do you brand that? What does that look like?
Yeah. I mean, when you said you're a home organizer, it made me think immediately of Marie Kondo. Isn't
Yes.
hers called the KonMari method? So, I mean, you know, she invented that. So you don't necessarily have to have something as big as hers, but I would venture to say her having her own method for doing it is one of the things that helped her skyrocket to fame and set her apart. So,
Sure.
you know, it can be a work in process for you, Lori. And I think some of it may be dependent too on, are you planning to stay small? Are you wanting to be a business that's focused on you and your personality, or do you plan to grow and have other home organizers? So if it's the latter, you know, it's like, well, what is that process going to be? So no matter who hires your company, they're all going to go through and get the same kind of process or level of service or approach to how they go about home organizing. So I think some of that depends on what is your goal for the business and how it's going to be structured. Is it a personality driven business that's, you know, you're hiring me
Sure.
only, or, you know, hopefully eventually are you going to, I shouldn't say hopefully eventually, you don't have to eventually add other people. You can be wildly successful and it be you be the star of the show. But I think that is a critical question, at least for your business in particular.
Precisely. And so far it has been personality based. You are hiring me to come work specifically with you through your decluttering process. And that's, I guess, part of what I'm trying to figure out as I do bring on a few team members, because I'll have a move-in job that's way bigger than I can personally do in the course of a week that they need it done. So I'll bring a team, but I'm still there. And I am trying to figure out how do I build this model? But that's probably a conversation for a different day.
Sure. You know, I guess some of the things that come to mind for me, and this is where we get into some of the differentiators, like where do you lean in on that? And for you, maybe it's not the process, maybe it is the service. And so you think about businesses that are high service. Chick-fil-A comes to mind. What do all of them say to you when you have an order and what do they say? Do you know? Are you a Chick-fil-A person? I have small kids, so I'm getting Chick-fil-A quite often.
Remind me.
They say my pleasure. So
Yes.
they say my pleasure. And that is built into the culture of what they are as a business and a brand. So yes, you may be going for the chicken, but you have incredible customer service, and that's embedded. Every single employee says that. So as you're talking about, if your personality is a big part of your brand, are the people that you hire having a sunny disposition as well? So what is the Lori way of doing it? And that is, we're all going to either wear a certain thing, or we're going to say a certain thing, or we're going to show up a certain way. So there's things that you can think of like that too, not just here's our method for executing. It's maybe our demeanor and our energy and personality that we bring to the table too.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
I'd like to say one other thing, and I think this is super important. Lori, you said earlier, judgment free. And I
Yes.
think a lot of people are afraid to or don't want to hire an organizer because they would be embarrassed to bring somebody into their home to see all the stuff that they have collected over the years,
This
and
is
they
a
don't
huge
really know
issue.
what to do. So I don't know how you can incorporate that in, but that a judgment-free zone, especially for people that you bring on, that I would think would need to be a huge part of your brand.
It is. It absolutely is. And I'm trying to figure out a way to say it in a positive way, because no judgment or judgment free still has the word judgment in it.
Yes.
And I haven't found a way to say there's no judgment in a positive way.
Yeah, that's tricky, but there may be other words, and this is where like messaging gets really important. There may be other things that you lean on first, but you can still talk about being a judgment-free zone, and other kind of supporting content, if you will. So maybe that's not what you lead with, but there may be other language that you can say. I'm going to mute someone else. I hear some background noise. I don't know. I see a question in here. Kelly Knowles. I don't know if you can see it, Lori. She was saying she was a professional organizer for several years. One area that may help you is what you were talking about, the home. So are you specializing in homes? If so, that may help you differentiate and then think about who your ideal client is. Hopefully that's helpful, and what you want people to think about when they think of you. Yeah, I don't know. There's probably some good words. It's not coming to me right offhand, but I love that idea. I think I know a number of people who've done home organizing, and I think there is almost like therapy in a way. So when you say it's judgment, no judgment, it feels a lot like I think the home is like a symptom of like an embedded problem underneath, right? And so in some ways, you're helping heal people's homes a little bit.
It's so true.
Yeah. Yeah. So how can you approach things in a way a therapist would? So maybe an interesting thing to do is look at what do therapists say, and how can you
great idea.
say that? Home therapy, I don't know. I think there's something interesting there to think about.
Yes, that's brilliant. I love it.
Great.
Thank you.
You are so welcome. Anyone else have a question, or does anyone else have a draft of their pitch that they'd like to share? I'd love to help people work through it. If you've got parts or pieces of it, we can talk through parts or pieces, or if anyone has a draft, raise your hand. And okay, Eva Lee, unmute. The floor is yours.
Hello.
Hi. I wish I could see all your faces. This is so hard for me.
So I have some different drafts that I'm playing with, but in short, I have a product that I make. It's a sleep mask, and it's high quality anti-aging silk is kind of the big differentiator. Then it also has like a very unique design where it has like deeper eye cups and it's adjustable, which is very difficult to find in a mask. All those things together. So I guess my question is, I don't know how far out to kind of start. Like, do I start with the benefits of why a sleep mask is even important and the many health, longevity, brain function, and memory benefits of using sleep mask? Or do I focus more on the like anti-aging specific qualities of my sleep mask? That's where I always get
Mm.
stuck because I'm like, I don't know how familiar people are with like why even use a sleep mask in the first place.
Hmm. I think what comes to mind for me is I'm like structuring it in my head because I'm not super familiar. So I'm a great person to ask because I don't know a lot. I mean, I know they exist and people use them, but I'm not a heavy user of this. So I think it'd be interesting because when you said some of those things that really caught my attention about, you're gonna have to help me, Evilly, some of the brain science or what are tell me some of the benefits. Start there. Tell me
Yeah,
some of the
so
benefits of
there's
sleep.
scientific studies showing that the use of a sleep mask can improve your memory, recall, and just overall brain function. So like a night with a sleep mask, your memory and recall will be significantly better than not having used a mask. And then just sleeping in darkness. So using a sleep mask helps. It's like the easiest way to create total dark environment. And the benefits of that are numerous. There's longevity benefits, there's depression, like it lowers your chances of obesity, depression, um, lowers your heart rate. So, I mean, there's massive like health and longevity benefits to improving your sleep quality and specifically using a mask.
Okay. So I can see how this is framing up. So before I tell you, then tell me what's the difference with your sleep mask versus any other one I could go buy today.
Well, there's a lot of different kinds of masks on the market, and most of them are like cheap synthetic materials, or there are actually quite a lot of beautiful, high quality silk masks, but the functionality falls short one way or the other. The synthetic materials are bad for your skin, they fall apart when you wash them, they're cheap. The high quality silk has anti-aging, skin nourishing benefits. It's good for your hair, it's good for your skin. There's actually been studies showing it speeds up cell turnover in your skin. So they literally do prevent aging. So my mask is made of highest quality silk, and it's a one-of-a-kind design that has deeper eye cups. So there's zero pressure for your eyes. If you have long lashes, there's more room for them, or lash extensions, and it's adjustable. So you can really get a custom fit and make sure that you have the best quality, most comfortable, most highest functioning mask for your sleep quality.
Got it. Okay. So what I'm hearing from you, like in terms of structuring the pitch is like, I was so fascinated to hear about all the benefits of a sleep mask. So I could see it being as a really interesting question to start. Like, what if I could tell you that there was a product that could help with your memory, recall, and brain function? And did you know it could also, and I tried to scribble some notes and I didn't get everything, but like starting with those things, because I'm already going, oh, I would love for like, I wish I had the memory of my 6-year-old. I don't, but like, so you've already got my attention going like, did you know that there's something out there that you could use every day that would improve your memory, recall, and brain function? And oh, by the way, did you know it also could do, I mean, you listed several other things, right?
Yeah.
There is, and it's called the sleep mask, but here's where most of them fall short. And then you could talk about, or maybe you could talk about the benefits of them. Studies have shown this, right? But most of them, and you need to find a shorter way to talk about them.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm thinking of like Shark Tank and I'm like, you know, or you think about those late night infomercials. There's a reason why that structure is popular. He's like, oh, but look at this terrible one. Like it falls apart like this, you know, or look at this, you know, and it's not great, or it feels gross, or this expensive one and it doesn't do the job. What if we can fix that problem? So I think I like the idea of talking about the benefits because I think it would really surprise people as to why you would even care about a sleep mask first, and then why yours is different would maybe be the way to go. I think the trick for you is going to be how to do that in a fairly concise way.
Yeah, that is exactly where I run into, because I feel like, oh, to shorten it, I should just focus on like the benefits of mine. But I also then I'm like, well, it's good introduction to just like why a sleep mask is even important.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think you have to dwell on that. I think it could just be a very quick thing. It's like, did you know that there's a product that can do this? And there's something that's kind of fun about the surprise of that. It's like, you know, pick the most interesting or surprising benefits of a sleep mask and start there, because I think people wouldn't go, oh, how in the world does a sleep mask do that? You know, I would never have guessed that. I thought it's all about maybe I'm wearing them to help with I would have thought it's more about anti-aging, or I just needed it to be blacked out and I sleep better. But I don't know that I would have thought that there's all these other benefits to it. So I think starting with that as a hook really quickly, and then getting into, you know, but there's a problem with many sleep masks. So you want the benefits of it, but there's all these different issues. We've solved that. And now you can get a custom fit. I didn't catch all of the things that you had said, but then you can talk about what makes yours special.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's really helpful.
Great. Let's see if if you can lower your hand. Okay, great. Joseph Dwyer, I think you've kind of unmuted a number of times. Did you have a question, or did you have or did you want to share yours?
I don't have a script or anything. This is my first time watching your podcast. I'm very grateful. But I work in a bank and I'm a commercial loan officer. And, we've had elevator pitches and things like that. Different banks have talked to us, but I was just trying to figure out how I would fit in the problem. And I mean, I know what the solution is, but what's the problem? People can't borrow money anymore, or rates are too high. I'm not sure.
So, all right, say that again. So you're trying to pitch your bank, and you're
Yeah.
not sure.
I'm a commercial loan officer.
Okay.
So
And
I'm looking to do commercial loans for businesses.
Okay. So what are the main reasons people come to you for a commercial loan?
Well, they want to buy a piece of equipment. They want to buy a piece of land that they're going to build a store or a facility or an office building. Usually to try to grow their business. They borrow money to grow their business.
Yep. So then the problem is, it's a business that is, I think there might be some businesses not aware that that's an option, but probably most are. Then I think that it's, hey, you have a business that wants to grow and expand, but you don't have the means to go buy the next level of equipment you need, or to go purchase the building that you need to support your expansion efforts. Commercial loans can help you get you the cash you need to expand and grow. And then then the question that needs to be after that is, what makes your bank special or different? Why should I get a loan from your bank? So is it the relationship? Is there a process? Is there you are more of a business partner? Like, I could think of a number of things that could make a bank more attractive to a business owner. I'd be curious to know what those are. Do you have thoughts on what that could be?
Yeah, am I there? Okay, yeah. We're like a community bank. We have 57 branches. We're in 3 states. So we offer a quick credit decision. We have a board that meets once a week to approve large loans. So there's a lot of discussion. There's a lot of benefits. We're not like a large bank where you're just a number. And I've been doing this for years, so I have a lot of experience helping people.
I think that's great. And so I think a lot of businesses prefer that. I know I made a switch of my banking after being with a bank for years, because I didn't have a great relationship. To be honest, I had trouble with them during COVID and PPP loans and all of that. So I wanted a local community bank where I would actually know the people. And I think that's a really powerful what we would call a value proposition. So,
Gotcha.
and so I also wrote down the quick credit decision. So especially if you're a growing business and, hey, I found a piece of property that I really want to buy, or we've found the new location, but we don't have time to waste, like someone else may swoop in and get it. I think that's another a great thing to mention too, is that quick credit decision. So I think you've got the recipe for it. It's hard when you go, well, there's all these other banks out there, but you mentioned a number of things that makes you special. So I think you've got some great options to talk about as why someone should choose you.
Cool. Thank you.
Does that help? Does that help?
Yes.
Great. Evalie, I see your hand still up. Since we answered your question, I'm going to move over to Lucretia. Okay, good. Thank you. Lucretia, the floor is yours.
Yes, thanks, Laura.
Sure.
And the example you used is similar to the work that I do about the maternal mental health, but my work is with the therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And so where I get tripped up probably is, like, we're taught to be good clinicians, but we were not taught to be business owners. So I help other therapists in their business, but trying to figure out like what the unique, like the problem And the solution is, because I can say the problem is we're taught to be good clinicians, but we're not taught to own a business.
Mhm.
But the majority of us go out to own a business.
Mhm.
But like trying to describe the solution.
Yeah. What are the things that you help the therapist do? So what are what are the ways you support them in on the business side?
I help them really it's like have like that confidence to show up and not be afraid to own a business.
Mm.
So getting past that, oh, I hate the business part, but I just want to show up and sit with my client. I'm like, but you have to set your foundation for your business and, get your processes together, come up with your vision and those like helping them to get to the foundation.
What are the benefits that you've seen, or what kind of, do you have some active therapists you're working with now?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, what are some of the biggest benefits they've said, what have they seen from working with you? What has come out of that relationship?
They have like grown their business they've grown their business. I help them think of things that they haven't thought of when it comes to like the basics of owning a private practice. So it's like, okay, this is unique to your business. What is it that you want to do? And then helping them to come up with those strategies. So they've grown their business. They've been able to add additional therapists to their business, going from a solopreneur to, maybe having a group practice.
Love
and
that.
just being confident in who they are, going from like a clinician to almost like the CEO of their business.
I love that. I think that's a great transformation that you offer. So, a lot of times we talk in marketing, you don't sell the solution, you sell the transformation. So it could be, I love the line you started with and I think this is true in a lot of cases. I mean, my husband's a lawyer. They teach you how to be a lawyer, but not a business owner, Same with doctors, a lot of the same way. So I think when these very specialized professions, they're taught to do the work, not how to run a business. You all didn't go to business school,
Right.
So I think it's, that whole line of you were taught to be a clinician, but not to run a business. But what if you got the support you needed to make running a business a lot easier so you could be more than a therapist and step into the role of CEO? And I think that
you nailed it.
I mean, I do this for a
That's
living.
what you
So,
do.
I mean,
you do a very good job.
Thank you. I'm a translator, so I take jumbled messes and make it hopefully clear for folks. So I'm glad you're proving the point that this is what I do for a living.
Yes.
So I think that transformation and go, oh, not that being just a therapist, I don't want to diminish that.
Yeah.
But if you have a vision of growing your practice, but it feels really hard, you can take the load off and make it feel a lot less difficult to get to where you want to go. So stepping out of a solopreneur into a CEO role, that's really powerful. Transforming therapists to CEOs. I think that line sounds really interesting to me.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think that's important work. And it kind of, I would assume that it frees up some brain space for folks, because the therapy part probably feels very natural, but
yes,
it feels like trudging through mud to do all this other stuff.
Yes.
It kind of reminds me, I have a friend who is a sales coach, and her tagline is, we help people crush their sales goals and love what they do. And so in some ways it reminds me of that, because you are helping them with the harder part of their work. It's like, we know you love being a therapist, but how can you crush it as a business owner? How can you crush it in the role of CEO?
Okay. Thank you. That was helpful.
Good. I'm so glad.
Thank you.
Let's see. We've got a couple more questions here. Angie Taggart.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so my business is a subscription box service for businesses to gift to their clients to show appreciation for business, for repeat referral business, and to stay on top of mind. So, but I do all the work. I mail the boxes from the business's database, and I include a personal note, and there's no information for my business on it, so they do not know it's been outsourced. They think the business person went out and picked all these local items to send to them. And so I'm not sure if I should open up as how many of you have done business with someone and felt like your business was important, and then after your check was cashed, you fell off they felt like you didn't appreciate them, or if I come into Tennessee and only knew one person and got my real estate license, and the second year I was the number one in listings and the number three in buyers, and it was all referral business. And so just trying to figure out how to if I should open up with either one of those.
Okay. Oh, I like the second one. And now, but I would flip it a little bit. So what was the key to you becoming you said you went from knowing no one to becoming what was the top realtor?
Right. I was number one in number one in sales and number three in listings.
Okay. And what was the key to your success?
It was all because the clients that I did get, I loved on them so much that it was all referrals. Every piece of my business I had that year to hit 5 million was referrals.
And what did you do to get those referrals?
I sent cards to my clients. I sent to their kids. I sent ice cream blizzard coupons. I went by and took them a homemade apple pie. So I just did different things where I was always staying in touch with them and checking on them. And so I've put all of that together and created my new business where I do it for other businesses.
Okay, so I love this idea for you. Is it okay if I be a little prescriptive here?
Yes, please.
I love this idea for you of going, I moved to, like, it's a little bit of a story and a stack kind of almost together. So you're going, I moved to Nashville and didn't know a soul. And within 2 years became the top selling real estate agent. And there was one secret I did to make that happen. And I'm gonna, make a way to like build the suspense. Like, what if I told you there's a secret to going from knowing no one in Tennessee to building a $5 million real estate business in 2 years? And it's all based on thoughtful gift giving.
Okay.
And then, and then this is where you get into the problem for you. The problem is remembering people's birthdays, or remembering like the process of sending out notes or finding thoughtful gifts can be really time consuming. What if there was a way to make that process a whole lot easier, but give your clients the same personal touch as if you did it yourself?
Oh, okay.
So I think what you're offering people is like the secret formula to building a really strong referral base without the hassle.
Yes.
So that's what you sell. I think it's a combination of your story, that story, like you found a formula that helped you build this wildly successful business in 2 years. But you know that it takes a lot of work to do that. If you don't have the time, energy, whatever, we'll take that off of your hands.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, as someone who's seen and experienced, I know some people who do kind of this gifting work and talking to people who've used gifting companies. I think it's great that you white label your branding, because that's what, like for me, I'm a brand person. So I want my business to be front and center, not yours. It can feel really, I don't want to say tacky, but it can be off-putting when it's like, I've gotten gifts and it's all branded by the gifting company as opposed to the people who are trying to give me the gift. So just as an aside, I think that's a smart move, and I think it'll make people more loyal to you. It would for me anyway.
Okay. Thank you. Sure.
Let's see. I think Kayla Hall, I've seen your hand come up and down a couple of times. So I want to make sure this is, forgive me, because there's 2 different panels and I'm not always seeing the hands and they're not all going to the right place. So forgive me if I've missed you or you've had your hand up for a while, you can put it in the chat if I'm not calling on you in order. I want to be really mindful of that. But Kayla, I think I've seen your hand come up and down a couple of times. Do you want to unmute?
She is unmuted.
Kayla, are you there? I'm a little confused because there's this attendee panel.
Okay,
Attendees
there we
and panels.
go.
There we are.
Can
Okay.
you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. I just had a clarity question as far as for pitching. So I have multiple different pitches, but I'm trying to get an understanding like for for the purpose of what's coming up in June for the pitch contest. Should this be more of like just an introduction pitch of like who you are, what your brand is, and what are you gonna be doing? Like, what are you doing? Versus that, like trying to get partnerships, trying to get investments. I own a cold press juice bar. I'm trying to figure out that comfortable middle ground, I guess.
You kind of cut out when you said you own a what so far? What was that last part of what you
I own
said?
a cold press juice bar.
Cold
So
press
I'm
juice.
trying
Okay.
to figure out the middle grounds on like which way should I be taking my pitch? Should I stick with like we need funding, we need investment, or should it be more of like an introduction of like who we are, what our brand is about, our mission, and all of that?
I saw Lisa shaking her head. I'll let you jump in, Lisa.
So yeah, so in 90 seconds, it's really difficult to do a whole lot, to be honest with you. So if when you make it to the finals, that's when you're going to have 3 minutes to give more information and have a specific ask. But and right now, you just want to kind of follow the template, which is engage the audience, tell people what the kind of the issue is, the problem is, how you're solving it, and how you're solving it in a really unique way. And then, just sort of close it out. That's 90 seconds.
Okay, thank you. That's why I was just trying to wrap my head around that concept. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
thanks.
Okay, let's see. I've got
We've got Angie Taggart.
I think, did we answer Angie's already? And Angie, we talked to you just a second ago. I'm going to lower your hand unless you have another question. And especially since there's some others that haven't talked, I don't know if I can lower your hand, but I believe we've had Angie already.
Yes.
Okay. Can you lower your hand, Angie? Sometimes I can do it, but I don't know why. There you go. Thank
Got it.
you. All right. Terry Lynn.
Hey there. I saw that Jared has his raised before me. So if he wants to go, he can go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I don't know why some like it usually puts them all at the top left of the screen, but it did for you, but not other people. So I don't know why.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I was like, he can go ahead if that's okay.
All right, sure. Jared, how about you go, and then we'll have Terry Lynn go after that.
Okay. So Jared's my boyfriend's name. I'm sorry if it's like how it showed up on the thingy.
All good.
My name's Danielle. And so my question is I have a hair care business, and I haven't started my pitch or anything like that. So my business focuses on type 3, type 4 hair. And I guess my hair care is specifically target for those textures. And so how do I like create a pitch without seeming like I'm, what's the word? Like not acknowledging the other hair textures just because mine is specifically focused on, 2 of them instead of the other ones. Because I don't want to make it seem like I'm like neglecting the other people. It's just for my brand, I just want it solemnly focused on African American hair. And I don't want, whenever I go to pitch to anyone, I don't want to make it seem like, oh, well, I don't care about the other textures. It's just my problem is that I see, the other textures lean more into our products. So I'm just wanting them to know like our problem is that there's not enough products on the market for, African American hair. So I just don't want to, I guess I'm struggling with how to start the introductions without making it seem like I'm being picky. But I mean,
you're not being picky, you're being focused. I mean, Danielle, thank you for clarifying. I thought that my sister's a hairstylist. I know a little bit, but not a lot about hair. So I thank you for clarifying. I thought 3 and 4 was, I think it's more like kinky and curly hair, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
so yeah, so I think that's perfectly fine. So I think, you have a very specific target market, and I think you need to own that. That doesn't mean you're saying, you think less of, here's my straight, I don't know, one hair, I don't know, hair. It's just that you have a specific audience, and the needs for type 3 and 4 hair is different than other hair types. So I think it's okay to own that. And when you said that there aren't as many products on the market for those hair types, I think that's a problem. So you're talking about the problem right away. So did you say are you offering products, or is it hair care or hair styling, or both?
So I've been questioned for like, are you gonna do hairstyling? And I'm like, I'm not there yet because I'm not a licensed hairstylist, but I do create natural hair care products for type 3 and type 4 textures.
Yeah, so I
So
think
I have like tangible products, yes.
okay, so yours is product. So kind of like let's think a little bit, let's think about the sleep masks, right? So we talked about another product here. So what are there certain things about your products that are different than the other things on the market? What makes your products special?
Honestly, like I want to say like it's different because I don't want to sound so cliche, but I feel like my products is the best because it's coming like from someone who actually cares about, the community and does want to add more, products back into like, the African American community. So it's like on top of that, I just feel like, this is something that God gave me to help, others. But I don't want to, what's the word? Oh, I'm getting a brain flat. Honestly, I just want to say like I'm better than anyone else in the market because I know that I'm passionate about it and I know that this is something that I know for sure like God gave me to, add more value.
So I can't see your face, Danielle. Are you also African American? Is that a wrong assumption to make? I can't see an avatar or picture. Okay.
You're totally fine.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
So I'm wondering, did this come out of your own experience? Was this part of your passion is coming from your own experience looking for hair products and not finding what you need?
Yes, ma'am. Because like my product, well, no, let me backtrack. I became frustrated when I did see my other hair care brand switch over and sold to another company that's, I don't want to say white, but I'm gonna just say Caucasian.
Yeah.
But it was just frustrating to see like, those hair care brands that I love that actually work for my hair being switched over and being sold, given 100% full benefits over and just constantly seeing like the changes in the formulas. Like I didn't want that to be my company. I wanted like my target market to make sure like, hey, there's someone, that looks like you, have the same hair texture, same hair issues. I want them to know like, I'm not changing. I'm not, selling over. Like I want you to know like, I'm here for you and I understand that like your problem. So I just want like my target audience to make sure like, I'm a stay Black owned, like no matter what, without, feeling pressure by, the numbers or anything like that.
I think there's a lot of power in that. And I've seen some beauty brands talk about that too. And I think you could say it's by Black people for Black people, and you're going to stay that way. I mean, one of the things you could talk about, I mean, is the whitewashing of the beauty industry or the hair care industry in particular. And maybe you can talk about your story. I mean, that might be a bold way to go about it. But what I want you to know is like being focused, and I talk to clients a lot about this, having a very specific target market, which you do, so you know exactly who you're going after. That's not bad. In fact, that's great. The bigger problem is when you say everyone's my client and customer, like your products would not be right for my hair, and that's not bad. It means you're focused. And that's okay. So when you have that kind of focus, people go, oh, I automatically know who you're for and who you're not. Don't apologize for that. Be for Black people and be proud of that, and say it's by Black people for Black people. I experienced this problem and I don't want others to have that. And so thinking about it in that way, I mean, a couple of things came to mind to me is like thinking about the product shelves and look at how many types of products there are for other hair types, but look how many types of products there are for hair like mine. And that could be a really interesting way to start and say, I want to solve that problem and give more high quality options for people who look like me.
Okay, thank you. Because I get nervous because like I didn't want to seem like, I was being picky.
No, you're not being picky, you're being focused and you're solving a real problem for people. And that's way better than you trying to say your stuff is for everybody. And I try and go buy your product. I'm like, well, this doesn't work for me at all. Well, it's because it's not built for me. And that's
Right.
okay. That's really okay. I think that's strong. So don't be apologetic about having a very specific focus. I think that actually makes your business stronger. It's just, you have to, it takes guts. Takes guts to be brave enough to say this is who I'm for and who I'm not for. And so I think it's great that you know that. You just need to own it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hope that helps.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Terry Lynn.
Hey there.
Hey.
Hey, okay. So I'm gonna try not to be too wordy with my question, but I've got everything in the sandwich except the 10 seconds to captivate. I have a swimwear brand and it is all made to order swimwear. So I take your measurements for women and I create a swimsuit based on their needs. So to really like blow it out of the water, no puns intended, I'm trying to shift my focus on possibly the fit. So, for 10 seconds, I'm thinking, I have a quote in mind, but like, I don't know if I want to do this or, maybe paint the picture of going through the purchasing process of a swimsuit. So it's hard to say where I want to go, but it's kind of like, life is short, wear the swimsuit, or, maybe I could start out with, whenever I speak to women, like in-person markets, I'll say, what kind of swimsuit are you looking for? And they will say, oh, I need to lose some weight first, or I'm waiting to go on a big trip. And then if I ask them if they've worn a swimsuit in the last year, and they'll say yes. So I'm trying to figure out what is the best way to captivate everybody. I got a statistic on pollution and I can talk about fast fashion, but I don't know, it's very like cluttered here.
Have you,
Laura, could I say something real quickly?
Mm-hmm.
We've got a lot of women on this recording.
Yeah.
And I think everybody would resonate when I say one of my biggest fears is going to get a swimsuit every spring.
Okay.
Bodies change, we look different. And then you look at yourself in the mirror and you go, oh no.
Okay. Yeah. And that's kind of like in the sandwich part here, I say, like the picture, I'm like, you need a swimsuit, you hate sifting through the sites, you have a big bust, no butt. It's just so many different things that you have to consider. And then I solve that problem by creating a sustainable swimsuit that is made to your measurements and it's reversible. So it doesn't have the pinching of the elastic. And since it's 2 swimsuits, or actually 4 swimsuits in one, you can use it for multiple seasons and also multiple days on a trip. So,
wow.
Okay. So
so you said it's custom made. So
yes.
Are you measuring people or are you having them send in their measurements? How are you going about building
most people, like when I do I'm not big enough to where people know about me. So most of my business is in-person markets.
Okay.
So I do the measuring there, but on my website, I do actually have people that send in their measurements there. There's a form, but I also have like a how to measure guide that just kind of shows me with a piece of measuring tape and how to do it. So it's kind of a process that eliminates a lot of extra inventory. So it eliminates them from going into, the dump. Like most with fast fashion, it's just all, goes into the garbage at the end of the season, and I eliminate that. So that's.
I think that's a very secondary or tertiary benefit. I'm gonna be honest. So like, I'm here, listen, I'm all for the environment and sustainability, but I think to Lisa's point, I mean, she nailed it.
Yes.
When I think about there are 3 things that are really hard to buy. Like when it comes to clothing, for me, the biggest nightmare is buying a bra, buying a swimsuit, buying jeans. Those
Yeah, I knew it.
those 3 things are the worst. And so what I'm hearing with you is like, what if you could have a perfectly fitting swimsuit without ever having to go into the store to try them on, or without having to order 15 options online, only to find that none of them fit you or flatter you or make you feel good?
So that would be the best way that you would approach that to introduce the pitch.
Potentially. I mean, like that's what
Okay.
catches my attention. Like if I mean, let's say half the people in the room are women, that's your target market. And I'm going to guarantee you, to Lisa's point, unless you're like a supermodel, I can't imagine most people like going to try on swimsuits. Or you're doing the thing where, I mean, as you're saying this, my swimsuit's like 5 or 6 years old. I actually need a new one this year. And I'm like dreading it because it either means I have to go to the store, which I will not do, or B, I'm going to have to order multiple sizes and hope that one of them fits. And then you're having to send them back, the ones that don't, and maybe none of them work. And then you have to try again somewhere else. So it's going to cost a lot of time and money to find something that works. So you're either like dressing room hell, pardon the language, or you're making multiple orders, you know, or ordering multiple sizes, which can be really expensive. So you're taking you know, you're making it easy and hassle-free. Like, so all I have to do is give you my measurements and I'm going to have a perfectly fitting swimsuit. Sold.
Okay. It's hard because like when you're doing it, you get distracted by all the details in it, and I can't step back and see the big picture of what is on everybody's mind.
Listen, you are like every business owner out there. We all are too, I had a friend once say, you can't read the label of the jar you're in. You're in it. You can't see it. So it's not just you. Every client I've ever worked with is in the same boat. Heck, I have the same problem and I need other people to advise and help me because I'm in my own business and can't see it. So you're okay.
Would you say that I need to eliminate the sustainability talk, or just kind of have it as
it's a secondary thing to me. Like, so like to me, if at least in a 90-second pitch, I think the most important thing is that you're taking the hassle and frustration and horror. I mean, like swimsuit shopping is a horror for many women. So you're like making this horrible process into something that's really easy. And then it can be a very small thing. It's like, oh, and by the way, by doing it this way, you're eliminating all of the waste that goes into buying multiple options that don't fit or throwing them away every year. So I think it's kind of like an added benefit. So like if anyone was ever on the fence, they're like, well, now I'm really sold, because if I care about sustainability and I don't want to throw away a swimsuit every year.
Yes. And then I can add whatever else I want to on there, like in addition, because like when I have my pitch at the markets, and sometimes like I'll talk about that this is, you know, woman made, sustainable, and I create the artwork as well. So I could add that on as the end, but really just hone in on the fit and taking away the horrors and the hassle. Okay. All right. Good. This makes me feel so much better. I was just,
good.
You know, I'm all over the place.
And I also like, I mean, I saw Lisa really respond to this too. I can't see anyone else's face, so I've only got you to lean on, Lisa. But when you were talking about 4 swimsuits in one, that really piqued my interest too. So it's like, oh, so it's reversible. Like I didn't care about the pinching part. It's more of like, oh, well, I don't have to buy 3 swimsuits because I can wear the same one on my vacation and no one's going to know. So I think that's a big value as well.
Okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate that so much.
Sure thing. Ogechi. You want to unmute?
Laura.
Hi. How are you?
Hello. Awesome. Okay.
I wish I could see your friendly. I wish I could see your face. I'm so sad that we're not on video.
First of all, I always knew you were great. You are effing amazing.
I love you. I want to give you a hug.
Okay, so my company, my background is supply chain, so I consider myself a supply chain expert. And what I've seen over the years in the small business space is a lot of business owners are looking at increasing their revenue by either getting more clients, closing more deals, or selling more product. What I want to bring to the industry is the view that don't just look at your revenue, but really look at your supply chain. Because by looking at your supply chain, you can identify opportunity to increase yield, reduce costs, which thereby increases your profit margins and supports that cash flow. My industry that I want to focus on, my target market, is in the construction space industry, because a lot of times that industry, they have to deal with longer payment term lead times. So a lot of times on construction projects, it takes about 60 days or more to get paid. And a lot of times they don't have the cash flow or the funding to float those long lead times for payment. So in that industry, I want to bring a GPO, Global Procurement Organization, similar to healthcare, where we do collective purchasing by bringing together the total demand of the GCs and the real estate developers, so that we can recognize bulk purchasing power by reducing the cost per unit of the materials that they're sourcing. So right now they're either going to Home Depot and Lowe's, or they're sourcing on their own versus as a collective. What I've done so far in the past year is launch our own line of manufactured LVP flooring that we're able to, cut out, the Home Depot, and because we're the manufacturer, and we're able to deliver that at a much lower price per square foot to the GCs as well as the real estate developers, thereby increasing their profit margins at the end of the day. So I know that's not necessarily my 90-second pitch, but I just wanted to kind of give you the full scope.
Ooh, okay. This is so fascinating. I did not know you were doing all this, Agechi. This is really cool. And I don't know a ton about this. I'm glad you said what a GPO was, because I did not know what that was. So where do you feel most stuck? I mean, I have some, where do you feel like you need the most help thinking through how to pitch it?
Really how to say that succinctly. So I know that, some of my quick questions are, how many people as small business owners want to save or increase their cash flow, aka save money? So of course, I know that's always something that a lot of small business owners are looking for, but then tying them to, here's the solution. And the flooring is just one example or one case study, because outside of that, we can launch other SKUs that can support that global procurement organization and reduce their sourcing costs.
Yeah, I mean, I heard the story there. It took a minute, but after you kind of painted the full picture, I could see it. I mean, what I would say is I love when you talked about construction, because then it became really a lot clearer for me to go, oh, okay, like supply chain is not something I know a whole lot about. But then when you talked about construction and the long lead time, like what if you just, I don't know if you're only focusing on construction, but that's not a bad idea, because I think they're the folks who are going to really resonate with some of this. And it sounds like you've already had some success with that. But I mean, starting with the problem, it's like you're building a new commercial building, and it takes 60 days to get your materials in, and then you're not getting paid, and then the cash flow is a problem, and blah 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 blah. Like, what if we could change all of that with global purchasing power? By being part of a collective and bringing together global purchasing power, so you could get paid in, like, if you're able to say, or get your products in 10 days and get paid right away, or whatever it might be. Like, I think that the juxtaposition of saying, this is, again, makes me think of an infomercial. Like, you think of it, it's really dramatic when people are like, I'm trying to cut this thing and it's so hard, but look, you put it in the Ninja and boop, and in 3 seconds, you've got this onion chopped, right? Instead of like, you're cutting and crying, but like painting the pain, it's like, oh my gosh, we're not getting our products. It's stalling construction. Our cash flow is terrible. But what if, you had the power of X number, all these companies pulling together, so you could get your products within, I don't know if you do a guarantee, but you could guarantee products within 2 weeks, and you get paid, and then you don't have the cash flow problem. Like, the juxtaposition of those two things is really strong to me. So it's like, you can't get too far in the weeds, or you're going to get lost. But that's what I'm kind of hearing. How does that sit with you?
Almost. So the challenge is we don't necessarily currently deliver faster. So they
Okay.
could go to a Home Depot faster to get the flooring on their own, but they're going to most likely pay more money.
Mm,
So
okay.
we are helping them to reduce their costs of that same
Got it.
flooring they were buying at Home Depot, and thereby reducing that cost, it will inherently increase their margins for cost of
Got
goods
it.
sold. The challenge, to your point, is by purchasing as a collective, our manufacturing lead time is a little bit longer. So we're looking at about 75 to 90-day lead time. So it will take a little bit longer, but in the long run, you will have that inventory that you can access that has a lower price point to it.
Got it. So then it needs to, so it's not, then don't mention the time because that's not your benefit. Your benefit is you're saving costs and making your projects more profitable.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would be curious to know, like, what is the industry standard of profitability on a construction project? So what would it look like to increase profitability by X number of percent if your products were, you're able to get your products at a lower price?
Okay.
And that kind of thing, I mean, speaks to business owners. We all care about the bottom line. So what if I, you know, so I could see something like, what if I could tell you your next construction project is going to have a 5% higher profit margin without having to change the plans for your building?
Mm.
And you go, I can tell you how. And it's by the, you know, whatever you're going to call it. I don't know if you have a name, but like, it's by, instead of just trying to buy things one off or running to Lowe's and Home Depot, you're working with a collective and you're able to get bulk products at a lower price. So it's the same construction project, but with lower material costs. So you're going to save this much money, which will make your profit margins higher or something. So I'm kind of making that up, but you get the idea.
Exactly. Because it's getting businesses to see things as not competitive, but more collaborative. Because I think that's the challenge too. And I feel HCA and those healthcare industries really, the way they all say, hey, we're all buying staples. Why would we not buy them all together, even though we're different hospital entities?
Yeah. I had no idea that that was a thing. That's really cool. And I mean, I think that especially if you've got experience in that, it's like you're bringing the same thing that's being done successfully in another industry and bringing it to construction and everyone wins. I think that's really cool. And it's like a huge value proposition. Like what's the downside? I mean, the only downside is you said your lead time might be a little longer, but if they're able to get their products at a decent enough of a discount, I think that trade-off would be worth it.
Okay. And to your point, I think that once we get it running, we could always have a buffer and that we're ordering to ensure that it is here when they need it. But we'll just have to, change the mindset. So that's what I'm trying to do, change the mindset.
Yeah. It'll take a little more planning on the front end, but and the back end, it means that you've got you're not spending as much as what you planned for on your project.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you say it one more time, what you had just said? It was so
good. This happens to me a lot. I'll say things and I'm like, I don't know. What did I just say? It's just like I was moved by the spirit here.
Luckily, this is being recorded. Okay. And we'll send this recording out to everybody.
Okay.
There you go.
Awesome.
I think what I said again to is something along the lines of like, how would you like to save 5%, how would you like to have a 5% higher profit margin on your next construction project without changing the plans for your building?
Yes, that was it.
Something along those lines. I can tell you how, and then you dive into what your problem is, dive into what your solution is. Okay. I think I see Terry Lynn's hand still up, but since she's already been called on, let's go to Ashley James.
And this will have to be our last one because we're at an hour and a half already. And an hour and a half. Okay. I want to be respectful of your time as well. So.
All right, Ashley, go for it.
Okay. Hello.
Hi.
I'm putting together my pitch right now, but I'm having a little bit of trouble with just I think creating the kind of structure around it that I want. And yeah, to just kind of get everything out. So my product, well, I'm actually a service provider, and the service that I provide is LinkedIn like a strategy and advertising management. And so I want to give business owners clarity on how to use LinkedIn effectively to attract their clients. So that's what my service provides. I work with the person one-on-one to get a good understanding of their business, and then I build a strategy for them, and then I help them with implementing that if they get into if we continue to have sessions together and things like that. So that's kind of like the overall of it all. And I wanted to start with a statistic because there are, over 1 billion people on LinkedIn, but there's only a few 100,000 that are using the platform actively. And then there's even less people that are creating content on the platform. So then that was kind of where I was going to go from, where if you're a person that is actually creating content on the platform on a regular basis, it's way more likely already that you are going to be able to start attracting people that would want to use your service. So yeah, that's kind of like my jumble of everything that's going on in my brain. And I'm trying to put more structure around it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually have a friend who has a marketing agency, but also specializes in similar work on LinkedIn, does LinkedIn coaching for female executives. And I saw her talk about something like that statistic you mentioned. She has mentioned something similar, and and kind of went through like, there's this many people engage, and even fewer create. So I can't help but wonder if there's a way to kind of flip that a little bit and say, hey, if you feel every social media channel is saturated, or if you feel like all the marketing channels, there's so much noise, I can tell you there's one place that's still left, that there's a ton of opportunity that most people are missing, and it's LinkedIn. And so I think not that the statistics are interesting, but hearing that there's 1 billion people on LinkedIn, I mean, you might be able to use that in another part, but I think what might be a little bit sexier, if you will, is going, there's like LinkedIn in some ways is kind of the last horizon, or the last blue ocean, on in the social media landscape. And so there's a ton of opportunity there that's being missed. Another way to talk about it, I don't know if you have active clients or if you've got some case studies, it's if you could say something along the lines of, what if I could tell you there is a social media channel where you could actively spend this much time and get this many new clients a month? Well, you can, and it's on LinkedIn, and I help clients do this, or blah, blah, blah. So I think there's something that's kind of interesting there to think about. I think a lot of folks are surprised about the viability and success that folks can have on LinkedIn. Not you, because you're in it. But if you're not in that space, I think people are like, wait, what? LinkedIn? Are you for real? But it has seen a real resurgence in the last few years. So I think the kind of leaning in on those a little bit, the surprising nature of how valuable LinkedIn could be an interesting way to go about it.
Okay, I like that. And I like the way that you kind of turn it around as far as like the stat goes. I think that would be a good way to get that going. And then
yeah, and you could still do the stat, or maybe it's just you cut out the like how many users there are, and it's like, what if I told you only? And I think when I saw again, it might not be the same statistic as what you have, but I think I saw it's a really low number. It's like 5% or 1%. It's real low, single digits, isn't it? I think that like only 1% of users on LinkedIn are actively creating or something. And if you were one of them, this is what could happen for you.
Yeah, I really like that. Because I think it comes from not so much, I guess, negativity or even just not so much, you have to wrap your mind around what the stat means. It kind of paints the picture for you. So
Right.
like
Be part of the 1% or 5% or whatever that number is. It's not very big. So it's like if you're willing to be one of those people, it can have a profound impact on your business, but it can be really overwhelming to know how to get started. And so I can help you with that. And so that's where you can talk about your services, and you're the shortcut to being successful on LinkedIn.
Yeah, okay. I like that. Thank you.
Great. Good deal. All right. I think
we've
we
done it.
complete? We did it.
Yes, you did it. You are absolutely fantastic. I
Thanks,
cannot
Lisa.
tell you how much I appreciate you coming and presenting today.
This has
Yeah,
been so
you
much
are
fun.
you are a turnaround artist for sure.
This
a
has been fun. I just
true-
wish I could have seen everyone's faces. So looking at people's names or avatars was really
Yeah,
hard.
I think you
but
know what? I figured it out. I figured it out for next time. I promise you this won't happen again.
all
As
good.
long as somebody's on a panelist. Okay, so anyway, thank you guys so much for coming. I really appreciate it. We'll be sending out the recording of this, and our next event is on the 21st, next Tuesday. So please join us for that. You do have to register for each one of these classes. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. And thank you, Laura. I really, really appreciate you coming.
All right. Thanks, Lisa. Appreciate you having me.
Thanks. All
Thanks,
right.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.